France as a superpower, for the country, for the nation, for the president to use this incident and then to rub it in and to broadcast images that are derogatory, demeaning of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in large billboards across the country, taking the largest buildings of the city and then portraying those images 24/7, reprinting those cartoons, making a criminal act to criticize the publication of those cartoons. To merely express anger becomes a critical act. To come and shut down over 70 masajid, as what happened in France. To have a lockdown on so many charities because they are not towing the party line. They're not accepting this crackdown. So the secret police are coming in and arresting people for verbally criticizing the tactics. Please spare me this double standards. This is not about freedom of speech, not at all. Freedom of speech applies when a minority speaks to the majority. Freedom of speech applies when those that are bullied have the freedom to speak out against those that bully them. When truth is spoken to power, that is freedom of speech. When the president, when a country, when an army act like thugs and they teach their own people to hate a minority, to have bad things about the minority, this is not freedom of speech. This is nothing but thuggery. This is nothing but an incitement of hatred. Freedom of speech does not apply over here. Less than 7% of France is Muslim. Less than 7%. Don't tell me that the 90% are intimidated, they're not going to speak their freedom. On the contrary, the acts of violence that happen at the hands of Muslims is negligible. One act, millions of Muslims, and one thing. These are statistics of any crime, any mafia, any negative that happens in a community. But what is the response? The criminalization of the entire religion of Islam. The criminalization of any type of criticism of government policies. And subhanallah, France, who are you to lecture us about the freedom? Who are you to tell us about the crimes of one man? Have you not looked at your own crimes? Have you not looked at your own colonial past? Have you not seen the brutal occupation of Algeria for over 100 years? Millions of people were killed. Not one teacher, millions of people were killed. Innocent women and children slaughtered. Rape was rampant. Anybody that objected, they were tied on a car and with a handcuff and they were dragged through the streets of Algeria until they died. They set up concentration camps way before Hitler. Don't come and tell us about freedom when you yourselves have not embodied that freedom. You get angry at the murder of one man, and yes, that should not have happened, but you do not look at what you yourselves are doing to an entire population. Millions of people in your own lands who carry the same passports, third, fourth, fifth generation of North African descent. They are in your lands because of you and your colonization. Don't blame them. They are there because you needed them to be laborers, to be manual workers. You brought them in because you colonized their lands. Now their children, great-great-grandchildren, now you discriminate against them. You don't give them the same education. You ghettoize them. You put them in the outside of the suburbs. You don't give them jobs. At every single opportunity, you shut the doors on their faces. This crime that occurred, the teacher that was killed, it had nothing to do with the books of fiqh. And it had everything to do with how you treat your own Muslim community. I'm not justifying, I am contextualizing. And we need to be brave enough to say this. The murder that happened was wrong, but it was not a murder that came from the books of fiqh. This was a murder that came from the anger of how you are treating millions of your own citizens. This is not a justification, it is a contextualization. And what is the response? You want to make matters worse. This is not how a wise leader acts. You want to cause civil war between your own societies. You want to make a minority feel even less like they belong to that land by flouting everything that is sacred. That is not the way forward, dear friends. That is not the way forward. And us Muslims as well, we have to be very careful. This is a bait. They want more incidents to happen. Realize, dear Muslims, it is a tactic. And I speak of France, but this is the reality across the world, across the Western world. They are